Hello, we are going to talk about post-nuptial agreements today. Thank you to everyone who's watching this. I'm Raluca. I provide family law, immigration, and estate planning services to my clients. I'm here with my marketing and office manager, Nina Clear. Thank you for your likes, shares, and watching this and your support. Really appreciate it. And every time you like or comment, it helps other people to see my video, and we really appreciate that. Also, I would love if you type in hashtag live, or if you're watching live, or hashtag replay if you're watching at another time.
Okay, so we're just trying to keep track of when people watch it, so that's how the hashtags would help us, and we appreciate those. Now, the other day we talked about prenuptial agreements, and today we're talking about postnuptial agreements. So what is the difference?
One is signed before the marriage, and the other one is signed after. Sometimes they call them a post-marital agreement because it is entered into after the marriage.
And are they both recognized by Georgia courts?
Yes.
Okay. And they are both contracts, so you'll need to follow the same rules with the postnuptial as you did with the prenuptial, right?
Yes. That means you must be 18 to enter into one. There can be fraud or duress when you sign it, and every party should have the time to review it and have an attorney review it. Although hiring an attorney isn't always necessary, but the court would like to know that you had the chance to consult with an attorney.
And let's talk a little bit about the history of post-nuptial agreements.
Sure. Prior to the 1970s, they were not recognized because it was considered that when you married, you become a single entity. And since a single unit cannot contract with itself, they were unenforceable. After more states started to adopt the no-fault divorce laws, and frankly, more people started to divorce, states started to recognize post-nuptial agreements as valid.
Okay, and I don't really understand the point of a post-nuptial agreement, so can you explain a little bit more about it?
Yes. Well, ideally, you figure things out before you are married, but after the first blush of love fades, you may find that you and your spouse engage in behaviors that are undesirable. So a post-nuptial agreement can be very helpful for people who may be on the brink of divorce but want to work out some issues. They want to try to resolve some of the issues and memorialize them in an agreement.
Okay, so you can, that was a nice explanation, but can you elaborate on it a little bit more?
Sure. Say you have a person in a marriage who is not very good with money. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, and let's say this person has run up a massive credit card debt, and the other spouse just found out about it. So maybe they have an agreement that says that one who ran up the debts is the only one responsible for paying it in full. In Georgia, marital debt, which is debt acquired during the marriage while you and your spouse, it's owned by it's about by you and your spouse, and it's considered jointly, may be divided in half by a judge in case of a divorce. So the debt can be divided between both of you, even maybe one of you made the debt. So a post-nup would keep this from happening, and the other one who didn't create a debt won't have to pay the debt.
Okay, why else might you use one? Is it just for debts?
Not necessarily. You might have one that breaks down how you want to divide your property, so it is already done if you get to a divorce at a later time or when either of the spouses dies, so it can take the place of a will. Georgia is an equitable distribution state, so any property purchased during the marriage is usually divided in half. But if you change that with a valid post-nuptial agreement, you can decide before going to the court what to do with the property.
Okay, and I've also heard them called lifestyle agreements. Is that correct?
Yes, they could be. Basically, you are saying some part of your or your spouse lifestyle must be changed in order to keep the marriage going. So the spouses agree to change this in an agreement.
Okay. And a post-nup might be helpful when one spouse stays home to take care of children. Is that right?
Yes, that would be very helpful, because that spouse is losing the time and not gaining work experience. They need to know if there is a divorce, they will be provided for because of the time they spend at home caring for the children. So they could write an agreement that addresses that and ensures that they are compensated for that time.
Okay. And like we said with the prenup, in Georgia, the postnup, you can't make any decisions about alimony or child support, right?
No,
Okay.
they cannot be decided in a pre or post-nup. I did want to mention why I think both prenuptial and post-nuptial agreements are a great idea. A marriage should be a partnership. You would not usually enter into a business partnership without a contract that lists out what each person is responsible for and how things should be divided in case it fails. That is what a prenup does. And if you didn't enter into one for whatever reason, a postnup may fix that for you.
Do you think there's ever a time that you shouldn't enter into a postnup?
There could be, if there is a big difference between the spouses in terms of earnings. I would recommend that you not enter into one, or be sure to hire an attorney before you do, especially if you are the lower earning spouse, so that you aren't taking advantage in such an agreement. If you are getting married and would like us to help with your prenuptial agreement, or are married already and would like to discuss with us about the postnuptial agreement, please call our office. We are always here to help. You know that. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.